back to the On the Fly podcast. I'm your host, student ambassador Anthony Johnson of FLI, and I am joined with esteemed guest Ashira Nelson. Ashira, thank you for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I've met you. We've met twice already. I've met you at the University Akron Career Fair, which you told me a little bit more about Wellsprings Financial Advisors, and kind of told me about your role as a tax manager as well, and what got you into tax. And then we also met for a second time at a University Akron event where you kind of share your experience and gave a presentation on diversity in the workplace. And it was amazing. I wish more people knew about it, but I want more people to learn about you. So to start us off, can you tell a little bit about yourself?
I can. So you mentioned a little bit. So yes, I am a tax manager at Wellspring Financial Advisor. They are a wealth management firm. I actually joined the firm not too long ago. It's been 2 years, but honestly, I accomplished so much in these 2 years at Wellspring. I actually came over to Wellspring from public accounting to start their tax department. So they didn't have one, and they wanted to start their very own for like in-house researching, um, consultations, projections, just to service their clients in-house. And so I came over nervous, but I love to do things that makes me nervous. I feel like I grow the most. In addition to being a tax manager, I am the creator or founder of a financial platform called Savvy Girl Money, where I help teach individuals. Honestly, I really say you could say I got a focus on millennial women, but I really just teach people about financial literacy and different financial topics. I like to use myself a lot in my teaching because I feel like it helps me to be vulnerable and kind of make me more relatable to different people, even though we are all at different points in our lives, but I try to be as personable as possible.
That's awesome. And that's really important that you use your own story because when you do, when you become more relatable, they're like, oh, this is possible for me.
Exactly.
If Ashira can do
Definitely.
it, then I can do it. So I'm curious, what first inspired you to create Savvy Girl Merlin, where you're like, oh, it's like there's a need to educate more people on financial literacy.
To be honest, from a very young age, I grew up in the inner city of Cleveland. And just growing up in inner city of Cleveland, we were on like public assistance. And we didn't live a bad life, but I knew it had to be something out there greater or just different with my community, my projects, how we were living. I knew it had to be another life out there. So I went to school for accounting with the hopes to come back with some financial knowledge to be able to educate first my family, because my family is like very important to me. So I wanted to first educate my family, but also be able to educate my community. So for me, Savvy Girl Money was supposed to be like a hub of, okay, you got this tax question or you got this credit repair question, cool, go to this post. I could just send them links because I noticed I was always getting the same type of questions. So if I cannot freshly answer this question over and over, I could just send them to this like hub of financial information that applies to their question. So ideally, in the beginning, that's kind of what I had in mind, and I did that. But then, as I was sharing and everything, it just started to grow, and so then I was able to just touch more lives and help more people.
That's awesome. And that's what we love to do. And that's, I have almost a similar background in which
Hmm.
I was born in Cleveland, but I was raised around the world. But I also grew up in a family where I didn't know a lot about personal finance. I didn't grow up with, the financial literacy, and I wasn't taught that in school. So that's what I love about Savvy Grow Money. And that's what we do at the Financial Literacy Institute to teach the
Um,
financial literacy skills that we should have been taught in school. So
absolutely, absolutely.
I'm curious, and I would love, I'm sure the audience would like to know as well. Before we dive into the common financial questions you get, why did you choose accounting?
Honestly, I felt like it would give me the most knowledge about just business and finance, or that's what I thought. So I got into accounting because actually I was really good at math. And my now mother in law, because I have been dating my husband since I was in high school, so she knew I was good at math. And she was like, well, maybe you should go into accounting. And I always had the objective to learn more about finances. So I thought that the accounting industry would give me the most knowledge about finances. I don't know why I didn't just go into finances, but honestly, I don't even think I really knew about like the finance industry when I was in high school. I really didn't know. I didn't have anyone in the finance industry, or like the internet wasn't as popular when I was coming out of school in 2007. And honestly, I needed to really know about or have that information before 2007 to even get into it. So the internet wasn't as popular. I wasn't exposed to like different industries. And then she mentioned accounting, and I'm like, okay, so they deal with numbers. Okay, cool. So that means I can learn more about finance. Okay. Then I found out it was the language of business. And I always, like, when people say, what did you want to be when you grow up? I always wanted to be a business owner. So I'm like, okay, I can learn finances and I can learn business. So accounting just became like the right fit for me.
And it actually fitted perfectly because
Yeah.
accounting is the language of business.
Yes.
You understand the numbers, understand how to categorize, organize the numbers, and then see
That.
what's the meaning behind them, and then kind of tell that story. So that's huge, and I can tell you, you did not miss anything so far from my experience as a finance major at the University of Akron.
Yeah, I do. I honestly, if I could go back, which, yeah, if I can go back, honestly, I would definitely minor in finance or do a double major.
That's
Yeah.
true. But what you did do is you got your CPA. So
Uh-huh.
why did you get your CPA?
So I got my CPA because honestly, in the accounting industry, I feel like you need it. In college, I feel like they like pretty much drilled it down your throat. Like, if you want to be in this industry, if you want to go this path, you have to get your CPA. So graduating from the University of Akron, honestly, I didn't think it was another option. From the day I entered the accounting program to the day I graduated, they always spoke about it. It was like, honestly, if you wanted to be here, you're going to get your CPA. So I kind of did what I knew I had to do before graduating. I remember interviewing with a couple accounting firms, and I said, well, should I get my CPA or my master's degree? Because I knew I wanted to do some type of next step after my bachelor's degree. And they all, like, literally, I asked like 5 people who were experienced in the CPA industry. They were at different levels of their career. They all said, go for the CPA. And so I did it. I did wait a couple years after, probably started studying for it like a year and a half after graduating. And a lot of people do like jump right into it. But I still feel like my timing was good. And if I had to do it again, I would definitely tell any student in accounting, if you want to like really further your place in this industry, you really do need your CPA.
That's key. There's accounting students that listen to this, and I know they're like, should I get my CPA? Should I get my CFA
Oh,
or my CP? Yeah, my CPA. So that
yeah.
is good to know.
Right. And it's other certifications that you can get. But I really feel like in the accounting industry, you really should start with your CPA. And then, like now, it's starting in 2024, I'm going to start working on my financial planning certification. So, in the accounting industry or a part of the AICPA, we could become a personal finance specialist. So I'm going to go for that certification over the next year to 2 years. I'm going to start that process too. So it's like, okay, I didn't get the opportunity to get a double major in finance, but this would be like my opportunity to kind of go that route, especially because now I'm working in the finance industry as a CPA. So
As a CPA and as the founder of Savvy Girl Money, which focuses on
exactly.
providing the financial literacy skills, focusing mainly on millennial women. So how did you decide to focus on? Well, actually, let me take it back. So before we talk about millennial women, I'm curious, what as a CPA and then also through Savvy Girl Money, what are some common, and also from the questions you get, what are some common financial questions you get about financial literacy that that I was wondering if you could share some gems and about
I
that.
think the number one question, honestly, I always get is, how do I build up my credit score? Like, I have been getting that. I started Savvy Girl Money in 2015. I became a CPA in 2014. So, like, right after I got my CPA, I started the process of creating Savvy Girl Money because I wanted to have a certification under my belt. I did, and a little experience. I did not want to be, and people can do it, whatever works for them. But personally, like, I didn't want to be someone without experience, someone without like some type of certification in the game, be going out there giving tips and information. And I think you can, especially based off your experience and through reading and your education. But at the time, I felt like I needed to go to school, get a little experience, and then get my certification before I started. So, and since starting in 2015, I literally probably every other month, someone is asking me, well, how can I repair my credit? It never fails. That was like one of those questions, like, okay, as I'm starting to create content, let me make sure I got a video on this that I could send right away. So that's one, how to repair my credit. Then another one is more recent that I've really been enjoying. People asking, where should I hold my savings account? And I always tell people you want to place it in a high yield savings account so that as you're building that account, it's earning a great interest. With the financial market and just the economy right now, high yield savings account are really doing well. They're really producing a very high interest rate. So why not take advantage of that? Hold your money in a high yield savings account as opposed to like a traditional savings account attached to your checking account, which you earn pennies on. So I really love that question. And I'm happy more people are asking me about that because that's like a simple switch. You're just switching from your traditional savings to a online savings account and you can earn more on your savings. So another one of questions I always get is how to start like repaying debt, which is a hard one for people. It's never an easy conversation. It's never a quick answer either. It always like, okay, well, how much debt do you have? What type of debt did you have? Like, what's your interest rate? Like, it always involves so much more, but at least they're thinking about it. So that always gets me excited.
Right. And then for those who don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you paid down $50,000 of debt.
Mhm. Yes, I did. I did. I paid off $50,000 of debt in 3 years. Yeah, it
Wow.
actually started out I started that journey in 2017. 2 years after starting Savvy Girl Money, it wasn't my intentions to originally when I started, I was just going to give my community and family information. But then it's so crazy how one simple conversation could just change everything. I was sitting at lunch one day, one of my coworkers, and he was telling me how his girlfriend, she was a traveling nurse, and she was aggressively paying off her student loans. And I'm like, oh, well, I never heard of that before. Like, how the internet is now, how social media is now, it just wasn't like that in 2015, 2017. It's much more like people are sharing more and it's much more of a community now. But back then, or I wasn't following the right people because I didn't see it as much. So when I heard that, I'm like, wait, so people really paying off their student loans, and most people I knew was ignoring them. Or you just, for me, I was just paying them the minimum. I would give them $100 and make $200, depending on how I was doing. But when I heard that conversation, I couldn't let it go. I literally went home that night, looked myself in the mirror, and said, I could do that. Why can't I do it? I could definitely do it. Like I had one daughter at that time, and I was working for a really good accounting firm, and I'm like, okay, let me just do it. I mean, I got bills, but I'm gonna figure it out. So I told myself, okay, I'm gonna give myself. I had $25,000 of student loan debt at that time when I made the decision in 2017, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give myself 24 months to just pay this off. I don't know how, but we gonna get it done. And I just did it. And then from the 24 months of paying off my student loans, I'm like, okay, I have $25,000 more of debt. How about I get rid of this in a year?
Hmm.
I did it with the student loans. Now I can allocate all that, the rest of the money that I was using for my student loan debt, I can put that into paying off the rest of my debt. So then I paid off the other $25,000 in a year. Any extra money I get, I was throwing at it. I played no games. I was really like, I just did it. And it felt so good.
It felt good, and you
Ugh.
made sure no more minimum payments. And I do know a few people in my family, and I have friends who are making only minimum payments.
Mm.
So could you share the importance of why to aggressively pay down student debt, credit card debt, any types of debt?
Absolutely. I can even give an example. So when I graduated from the University of Akron in 2011, I graduated with probably around $20,000 of debt. I was paying like the minimum payments, not checking my balance, but just giving them $100 here or the minimum or whatever the minimum amount was. It was truly the minimum, not a cent extra. When I checked my balance in 2017, after I had that conversation with a coworker, it had already grew $5,000. I was making minimum payments. So it was like that was going nowhere. That didn't even make a dent in it. Actually, it had grown from making minimum payments. So when you make the minimum payment on any debt, it doesn't always cover the principal. Honestly, in my situation, it didn't even cover all of the interest because the balance still grew. So no matter which type of debt it is, you always want to make sure you are paying the interest off plus more to hit that principal balance. Because when you make a payment, most of the time you have an interest portion you're paying, plus you want to make sure you're kind of attacking that principal part. So if I would have continued to make that minimum payment on any of my debt, because I had more than just student loans, it would have took me so many years to kind of pay that off. So,
Yes, yes. So that is us for some people, and from my experience, that is a sensitive conversation. And
mhm.
almost all conversations regarding like personal finance, especially in the African American community and
Yeah.
where I grew up in Cleveland. So how do you go about having those conversations? Maybe starting with within the house with your husband and with
Mhm.
your children about personal finance.
So with my husband, he was there through it all. He was there because we've been dating since high school, honestly, before high school, and he he understood my passion. He kind of let me do my thing, but to be honest, we were on different pages. He he started to earn a lot of money like when I was still in college. He ended up dropping out at some point because he had got a really good job and he wasn't as focused. But he started making money like when I was still like a junior in college, and he was pretty doing pretty well for himself. And so he respected what I was doing to finish school, to start Savvy Girl Money, become a CPA, everything like that. But and also for me, I never wanted to be too aggressive with my philosophies on life or kind of what I was doing. So when I wanted to start aggressively paying off my student loans, I'm like, okay. I kind of told him about it once I made the decision because I didn't want to like peer pressure him or make him feel like he had to do this thing with me. It was a me journey. He respected it and he definitely helped me along the way with not making payments on things, but making other payments on like household things to kind of ease my burden while I was on this mission. But now, like for the last like 3 years, he is Mr. Savvy Girl Money. Sometimes I have to tell him, like, okay, babe, I mean, you can let up a little bit, like, please. So honestly, it just took time for him to really go through he had to go through his life transitions too. He had to go through kind of accomplishing things he wanted to accomplish, but I always made him a part of the conversation on what I was doing. I always like if I learned a new thing, he was learning a new thing. I would tell him like cuz I went through this period of like diving into so many personal finance books, like crazy, because there was no other way. Because once I graduated from University of Akron with my accounting degree, it was still so much I did not know about personal finance. So I had to like get self-educated. And as I was getting educated, I would tell him everything I was reading, everything I learned. If I read a new blog post or whatever, he knew too. So, I mean, over the years, me constantly talking about personal finance and like the benefit of certain things, he just naturally became of interest and he's fully on board with the personal finance journey now. And my daughters, I remember I did a blog interview a couple years ago, and I told them like when my daughters are learning their one, two, threes and ABCs, they're also learning like from a very young age the importance of saving, the importance of paying yourself first. Like my 10-year-old is so good with savings, it's crazy. I mean, and she's 10. We started this probably when she was like 3 with the piggy bank. Oh, let's get excited about putting money in a piggy bank. And then at 5, okay, you got cash. Now, how are we going to spend it? How are we going to manage it? Like by the time she was 8, she every birthday she get like a couple $100s from different family members. She get like 50 here, 100 here, or whatever.
Right.
When I tell you that this girl at 8 years old can manage it, her birthday in July, by Christmas, she was still having it. She's able to hold it, make it last, like
Wow.
really like so by Christmas, she would use the rest of her birthday money on maybe Christmas gifts. By Christmas, she was getting more so she could then make it last to her next birthday. She's just so good at it. So now she has her a like Cash App account and her Apple Pay account, and she can fully manage that on her own now with no help. She don't even need my help. So we go to the store. She'll be like, Mom, oh, I got this Starbucks. Like, oh, you still got your birthday money? She was like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, and let me get my stars because I wanted to get my points from my Starbucks app. Like, I uploaded my money to it. Like, she is so good at it. And it was just giving her like the basic principles from a very young age. And now she's able to just take it and go. And then for me, saving was key in the beginning. And I just told her, like, this year in 2024, we're going to talk about investing a little more. I'm going to make you more involved with, like, she has a 529 plan and she has a brokerage account, but I want her to like understand it. Like, once mommy deposit this money into this account, what happens? See the graph, see if it goes down, goes up. I want her to just better understand it in 2024. So that's our next step. But we had to get the idea of saving and paying yourself first down first. And now I'm just going to just build on each topic.
Very true. That is exciting. And I'm sure there's going to come a point where when she goes to Starbucks,
Mhm.
she and you ask, you're right, you get ready to buy something, she pays for both of you.
She
So, no,
does. She does. With no,
got it.
she don't got no problem with paying like for a
Mhm.
Target bill. She don't care. She like, oh, I got money on my Cash App card. Oh, let me check my Apple Pay balance. She don't play. She is a responsible, super responsible 10-year-old. I am very proud of her.
That is, we love to hear that. And then another thing that you said, which is huge, there's two things. One is the books, which I
Hmm.
saw that you read, How I Will Teach You to Get Rich by Ramit Sethi. And I
Yeah.
saw the Netflix series, and that was awesome.
Hmm.
And then the second point is the 529 plan, which I was introduced. I learned about it by Mark Russell, the founder of Better Wallet. And
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
for those who don't know, could you explain what a 529 plan is?
So a 529 plan is a college savings plan. So basically, you want to start when your kids are young or as young as you possibly can once you are at that point financially to be able to afford it. I started Skylar's 529 plan, I would say about 5 years ago. She's 10, so I started when she was about 5. I wasn't in like the best financial position at that point because I was still in debt and everything. So I told myself, I want to start this 529 plan. I can't put a lot in, but I won't be too hard on myself. I'll start small. I started with $25. I did $25 a month for probably about 3 years because I was still trying to get out of debt. I was still trying to get to the point where I was funding my retirement. So I knew I couldn't be too aggressive, but I wanted to create the habit of contributing to her future. So I started with a small amount. And now that I'm in a better position, I'm maxing out my retirement accounts. I'm like, okay, I can max out my accounts, my retirement accounts, and I can still put a little extra into her account. So now I just I'm at $150. I'm putting into her 529 plan and her sister 529. They both have their own separate. So I'm putting $150 into both of their 529 plans. And then I started them a brokerage account. So both girls also have a brokerage. But the thing I love about a 529 plan, and I always get some negative feedback is people like, well, what if they don't want to go to school? And it's like, it's okay. Because a recent law that just passed is that if your child doesn't want to go to college or they don't use all the 529 funds, you have a couple options. I can actually, let's just say for Skylar's 529 plan, my girls are 7 years apart. That's kind of how my youngest daughter got her name, Seven.
Right.
My girls are 7 years apart. I can roll over my oldest Skylar's leftover funds or funds in general into my youngest 529 plan. So you can roll it over to any family member's 529 plan if one don't use it. Or you can go back for some education. Or one of the key things I like, and I'm sure I'm going to do this one, you can roll over the leftover funds into a Roth IRA and start saving for their retirement. So it's like, okay, so if she goes to school, great, a traditional university or trade school, cool. I have these funds available. But if she don't, okay, I'll roll it into my other's daughter plan, or we'll just roll into their Roth IRAs. So it's like for me, it's a win-win, no matter what. At least I'm saving this money, at least I'm investing this money. So I figured I'll be good.
It
They'll
is.
be good.
It'll definitely, yeah,
Right.
7 will definitely be good. Your
Yeah.
oldest as well. Especially that the fact that, you started with the fact that you committed yourself. And you're like, you know what, I don't have a whole bunch currently. I don't have a whole bunch now, but $25, that's just my start. And then I'm gonna just continue doing this over and
Mhm.
over. And then I'm gonna through that, you enable some compound interest and that starts to take effect.
Exactly. Exactly.
So how did you develop? Because I was watching one of your podcasts, and you said the first step when you were asked about how you go about like tracking your own money, you
Uh-huh.
said the first step is to commit. That is the first step. Once you commit, then you can move on to the next steps. So
Absolutely.
how do you commit?
For me, committing is remembering why I'm doing it. Remember my why. Like, remember my why from when I was a little girl living in the projects or the inner city of Cleveland. Remember why I'm doing this. Remember what I want to accomplish. So I always make sure I remember my why in every situation, and it helped me stay committed to my goal. My girls help me stay committed because it is so easy for me to get distracted. I mean, social media is always showing me some type of ad to buy a product or go here or do this. And it's like, it's very easy to get distracted. But I found that I stay committed better when I just remember why I'm doing it. So,
That's very true. Do it for your family. Do it for the ability to gain the knowledge and education so that you can share that with communities.
absolutely. Because like I did not know an accountant growing up. So I feel like I needed to be an example of one of the examples, not the overall example, but just be an example to how good or how an accountant could live because maybe someone else is not introduced to accounting. So if you do meet me, I'm going to tell you about my career to inspire you to consider a field in accounting or finance or just just to be inspired. So, yeah,
To be inspired and to know that it's possible. And another, you're
absolutely.
known for, I know you've pushed the boundaries in the accounting field as well, where you actually dyed your hair in one of the most conservative industries. You tested it, looked
Uh,
around, but most of your coworkers, they're cool with it.
yeah. So you're referring to my presentation when I came to speak to you guys at the University of Akron. So yes, yes. Oh Lord. So yeah, I did. I was going through a period where I wasn't sure if I really wanted to stay in the accounting industry. I didn't know if it was like it. I'll tell you this. I came to speak to you guys about diversity. And
Right.
I'm so glad I did because it brought up so many like memories I was having throughout my career. And it was nice to finally share them. I mean, with a group of students so that they can know what could happen to them too. But I was going through a point like at the middle of my career and I'm like, okay, do I really want to stay at this firm? Do I really want to stay in accounting or be a tax accountant? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out if this space is for me because the people in the industry don't look like me. It's not that diverse in accounting, to be honest. So I said, okay, crazy enough, I dyed my hair blonde with red at the bottom. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to kind of be a rebel and see if they'll still accept me, still respect me for me. And luckily enough, it turned out very well. They still respected me. I mean, no judgment. It was cool. It worked out greatly. But for me, it's like I had to rebel a little to see if this space was for me, if I could truly be myself. And honestly, after that point, after kind of rebelling and like breaking out of this box I had put myself in, that's when I really started to succeed. When I stopped playing by the rules, when I stopped like minimizing myself into this little box, I really start to really win in this space. But I probably will not dye my hair red and blonde again. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with dark hair, maybe a little highlights, but that's about it. But it was good because it at the end of that time frame, it lets me know that I love the accounting industry. I can be successful in this space, but I just had to be myself.
You can succeed by being your authentic self.
Authentic, and that's the thing. Showing up as my authentic self was key.
And you notice another thing is that when you did show up as your authentic self, you start to succeed even more because those the opportunities were there. But now those opportunities, you move toward that because that's what you really want, and that comes to you.
Yeah.
That
I
is
started
huge.
small. It was so crazy how some crazy hair dye can help me to stop playing it so small. I was like shrinking myself to be in a space where I felt I felt like I belonged, but I wasn't sure. And it was just such a crazy time. I was literally not really going through a midlife crisis because I was actually still in my 20s. But it felt like a midlife crisis. I'm like, is this space for me? I was really shrinking myself.
I would
Yeah.
say you've done a great job. Now people have a role models. Women have a role models. People in Cleveland have a role model. Students in Cleveland, Maple Heights High School,
Mhm.
they have a model
Thank
they can
you.
look to. It's like if I want to be an accountant, if I want to get my CPA, if I want to be a 40 under 40, if I want to be a public speaker, paid
Oh,
professional public speaker, if I
thank
want to start my own business, this is possible. I can ask
absolutely.
Shira for
It is
advice.
all possible. It really is. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to get it done. I always wanted this, but I would say it really started to pave the way. I seen the difference as soon as I stopped playing it small. As soon as I stopped shrinking myself to be in certain places. Oh, it was just so crazy how it transformed right in front of my eyes.
Great. So before we get into our rapid fire questions,
Uh-huh.
what is the most important thing we haven't spoke about today?
Let's see. Um, I would say for me, just being in the accounting and finance industry, one thing we haven't spoke about how important it is to never stop learning. We hit on it, but even though I'm in this place, I'm in a really great place in my career. I'm at a firm now where I'm running the tax department, which 2 years ago, I mean, honestly, I would have never thought I would be here. Um, Never stop learning. Even when you feel like you don't qualify for something, I say go for it. You can learn as you go. Read the books, read the um, blog posts, listen to the podcast on your niche, on your industry. But learning is so important. And I can tell you from the beginning of my career, still to this day, I'm signing up for learning opportunities for 2014 now, but never stop learning. Forever be a student of the game.
Always learning.
Yes,
Continue with that growth minded. Continue to develop yourself. Continue to learn.
absolutely.
Lifelong learning.
Absolute life learn. Like I will not stop learning. And if you ever get to a point in your career or at a position and you're not learning, that's your key that it's time to move on.
Ooh, that's
Mm.
big because I've heard, and I think you said it before, is that you learn, when you get a job, you're either learning or you're earning. You're either,
Absolutely.
yes,
Oh,
you want to get something that does both, but
oh, yeah.
especially in the earlier, probably I'll say for the first half of your career, you just want to focus completely on learning and give
100.
up the earning part. And then once you have the skills, the knowledge, there's like, hey, this is what I can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start earning your worth.
Yes. Yes. Where now I feel like my diversity is my cape. Like, yes, I am sometimes the only African American here. I am sometimes the only woman of color, but that is my cape. You see me, that is me. Cool. And I'm gonna wear it proudly. But I needed the knowledge, I needed the experience, I needed the education to help get me here. And now I'm at a point where, from all the learning and experience, I'm able to like state my number. Oh, you want me to come to your farm? Okay, cool. Well, here's my minimum. You want me to speak at this event? Okay, here's my booking fee. But you need that education. The education part is so important. It really is.
It is. All right. So next, our next section is the rapid fire questions. Are
Okay.
you ready to share?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite book?
My favorite book, you actually mentioned it. So, one of my favorite books is How to Get Rich by Ramit Sethi.
That's a
Yes.
really good book.
Yeah. A
And the Netflix series too.
Oh my God, yes. It's just a great book for learners. I mean, when you're in the beginning of the process, but it's still some good gems if you're experienced. So that's one of my fave.
Favorite movie?
Ooh, my favorite movie. Oh, I should have had these questions in advance. No, I'm glad I didn't. But one of my favorite movies. Oh my God, what is my favorite movie? You want to know the first one that came to Step Brothers. I like Step
That's
Brothers.
funny.
Oh my God. Like I like comedy. So yeah, Step Brothers.
Awesome. Favorite food?
Favorite food is pizza.
A particular type of pizza or pizza in general?
Oh my God, my pizza is so boring. I like cheese pizza. I don't eat meat. So cheese pizza. Oh, but I do like or pineapple chicken pizza. Just take off the chicken. And then it's left with just like barbecue sauce, onions, and pineapple. So I do like pineapple.
Hawaiian pizza. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Vegetarian style.
Yeah.
Love it. And then our final two questions is going to go more on the serious end. Are you ready?
Okay.
Advice you would give to your 20-year-old self.
Advice I would give to my 20-year-old self is do it even though you're scared. Yes, do it even though you're scared. I was so scared of so many different situations. But do it even though you're scared would be my advice to myself, my younger self. Yep. In my 20s, I was afraid. I just felt like I didn't have enough experience, enough like life experience, enough. I didn't have enough exposure to different environments from when I was younger. So I would just say, do it scared. I remember I was at the University of Akron, my first internship, very first internship, my junior year. This firm told me that I was going to Europe for 2 weeks to do an audit internship. When I tell you I was so freaking nervous, like I had never even been on a plane before that. So now you're telling me I'm going to Amsterdam or the Netherlands for the first time? Oh my God. Like I was just like a emotional ball. But I would tell her, do it even though you're scared.
That's beautiful. And then the last question is, you
Hmm.
lived your life, you lived a wonderful life, everything that you aspired and continue to work towards, had a great life. Now you have to, before you pass away, you have to write something on your tombstone. What does your tombstone say that people can come by and they look to?
Oh, what do my tombstone say? Oh, I never thought about this. But I would say my tombstone would say that I was a loving wife or a devoted wife, a loving mom to two beautiful girls. I was a awesome daughter, a sister, because I am the oldest of six kids. But it was also say that I was fearless. I did it because I was scared. I was a phenomenal woman. That's what my tombstone would say.
I love that. We
Oh,
love that. And Ashira, thank you so much for being on the FLI on the Fly podcast. If people are interested in learning more about you, learning more about Savvy Girl Money, where can they find you?
so you can find me on Instagram at Savvy Girl Money, or you can find me on Facebook too as Savvy Girl Money. Those are the two platforms that I am the most active on. So you can catch me there.
Once again, thank you, Ashira, for being here. Everyone, I hope you really enjoyed the podcast. There's definitely a lot of gems ranging from personal finance, how to succeed in life, how to have those difficult conversations to take care of your personal finance, which also can be used for other aspects of whatever you want to have those conversations about. And I've really enjoyed learning more about Ashira. We started the podcast, nobody knew anything, but now hopefully all of you have learned something new and something tactical that you can apply starting today. Once again, thank you. And that is it for the FLI on the Fly podcast. Thank
Thanks.
you, Ashira. Of
Thanks for having me. I had such an awesome time. I really, really loved your questions. So thank you.
course.